Come on, work, work, work. Just do things, please. Do some live things. There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, Aquilon here, and of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. And if you're watching this over on YouTube, please remember to hit the like button and also click the link in the description down below, because it is always better when it's live. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, new week, same old content. I can't promise that anything will change. It's just more of the same, you know? More of whatever I feel like doing on the day, pretty much. So I really hope that you enjoy the content up until now, because if you didn't, man, is this not going to be a great week for you. I don't know, we'll see if anything big happens this week, right? Smoky Monkey, how you doing? Living life, how you doing, bro? I hope everyone's doing well. Very good to have you join us. What are you guys up to? Wifin, how you doing? Ugh. Oh, Mondays, dude. Mondays are always rough. I don't know why. It's like, I have nothing to complain about when it comes to Mondays, right? Because technically speaking, a Monday and a Wednesday and a Friday, it's exactly the same day for me. I do the same shit every single day of the week. And yet, it's just built into us. Mondays fucking blow ass, right? Barbie TV, how you doing, fam? Good morning to you, man. Smoky Monkey, yeah, I don't know why that is. Because I swear to you, on weekends I work, right? I make videos, or I edit videos. That's Saturdays and Sundays. I edit videos. I stream Mondays to Fridays, and I actually enjoy streaming. But still, it's like as soon as a Monday rolls around, it's just weird. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, Mondays just bring you down. It just weighs on you. You are telling me I have to work 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I hope you will be on tonight. Living life. Hopefully the internet doesn't, short out or anything, but I am planning on being live. I don't think I'll be live from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., but I will be live for most of that, if you don't mind. The Dark Lord, how you doing, fam? Jake Reaper, how you doing, fam? How are you? Sorry, I can't watch you more. I'm getting load shedding at 6 for 4 hours. Oh, yes. Stage 6 is back. It is back. I know. It's going to be tough, because I'll tell you what. If I'm just streaming, the PC pulls a lot of fucking amps, right? It's pulling on the old battery there. So we'll see. I may have to during stage 6 load shedding specifically, I may have to turn off the cam. Turn off the cam, turn off the lights, and basically just have the PC streaming to go through those 4-hour load shedding stages, because that's what we have now. We're back onto, like, stage 6 is horrible. But I don't know exactly what my... So when I'll be down... Hold up, I'm trying to check quickly. So I'll be off from... I mean, I won't be off, but technically I will be off, right? From 8 until 10. So, yeah. You have solar, Echo? Jake, I don't have solar, but I do have a battery and an inverter. Planning to get some solar panels on at some point, but I'm not entirely sure if I want to get another battery first, because the battery I have now is a 5 kilowatt, right? And during 2 hours of load shedding, it does, like, perfect. It barely uses any of the battery. You can't use anything while there's sort of load shedding, right? So you can't use the kettle or the air fryer or anything like that, because that just sucks the fuck out of that battery. Like, literally, right? Normally, when I run for 2 hours on load shedding, right, on the battery, we'll use about 25% of the battery after 2 hours. However, you put the kettle on once for 3 minutes. That's it. That's how long it takes for the water to boil. 3 minutes. And it uses 50%. Genuinely, just like that. Those kettles pull a shit ton of watts. So ultimately, the kettle is like the kettle is a no go, especially during 4 hours. But yeah, for the most part, 4 hours isn't too bad. Can't wait until your next Q&A because I got a theory for you that I'd love to discuss with you on Q&A. Bro, it's this Friday. Every Friday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. In America, they are showing a new device called found in Mexico that generates its own electricity. Where was this tech before? Living life, well, technically speaking, Nikolai Tesla, right? And I've watched so many videos on this. Nikolai Tesla invented electricity that basically generates itself, right? So the way that Tesla's machine worked is it actually operated on the natural vibrations of the earth. So it used the earth itself to generate electricity, and effectively that electricity would have been free because Nikolai Tesla, he tested it on light bulbs and stuff, and the light bulbs would just go on. The thing is, the electricity would sort of be free flowing, so it would just be everywhere, and anything that needed electricity would just power on because it could use this electricity that is just everywhere. Yeah, basically like the pyramids. But Tesla's work was confiscated. After his death, the government moved in and basically confiscated all of his work. And there's sort of theories that suggest that they confiscated his work because, well, of oil interests. Because obviously, if you have a device that can provide free electricity to the whole world, there's no way to make money there, right? No one's going to be able to make money. So the people that want to make money, they're not interested in things that can make free electricity, because how the hell do you charge for free electricity? So yeah, that's sort of, at least that's one of the conspiracy theories around that, right? CCS, how you doing, fam? Humans, why can't we work together like ants? It's not humans. It's the corrupt. Our system right now is sort of placated or built upon the backs of the corrupt, right? And I don't mean that as in the corrupt work harder than everyone else. They do, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is the system has been set up for the corrupt to benefit and for the honest, hardworking people to be screwed over. And that's really the issue that we have today. If you think of every single thing in this world, we constantly lose out due to money interests, right? The people with money want to make more money, and so they will not allow technologies that sort of remove their ability to make as much money as possible. Primates are assholes the world over, and we are primates. Probably true as well. I think a huge part of that is just the size and scope of things. You know, for a rich guy that lives in San Francisco, for example, there's the impact that his decisions will make or will have on the lives of a man or a woman that lives in Texas. It doesn't even register, right? So when you have a rich asshole that bribes the government in order to get his way, he's not thinking about the people that live far away from him and what that effect might be. He's just doing what he thinks is best for him. And I don't know if I necessarily think that all of it is evil. I think sometimes they think, what's the harm? Right? So they don't necessarily come at it with a, I'm going to be evil and do evil things, but more a case of, what harm could possibly be there? And it's just because they don't live anywhere near the people that's going to be taking the brunt of, the consequences of their actions. And that might be the biggest problem. Countries have gotten too large. There's just too many people ruled by a very small group of people, and that small group of people that is ruling have no interest or have no reason to really care about you or I that live far away. Vikings quote, power goes to those willing to lower themselves to pick it up. I like that, because it is pretty much true. I mean, there's that old adage, right? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Because put yourself in the position of very rich people, right? The very rich guy that's made more money than he can ever spend, right? He looks at the rest of the world and he probably thinks himself smarter than all of the rest of us. Why? Because, well, he's been able to become a billionaire while the rest of us haven't. So it's very easy for him to start thinking, well, if I'm smarter than the rest of them, then, surely I should be the one making the rules because I probably know what's best for us. Whereas these guys, what do they know, right? They're still suffering in their, menial day-to-day jobs where, they live month to month and they have, what have they achieved? Whereas I have gotten to the top of my industry. Therefore, I must be smart enough to know what is good for them. This is why every single bad sort of era throughout humanity, you talk about Soviet Russia, you talk about Soviet China or Communist China, Idi Amin, none of them started off as wanting to be evil. And I purposefully do not include Hitler and the Nazis, because I think they kind of started off being fucking evil, right? I think that would be the exception to the rule. But they don't start off as wanting to be evil. It's just, whenever someone promises that they have the answer to all of life's problems, I think that's where you should start getting scared. Because there's no way that one person will ever have the answers to all of our problems. And usually, when one person tries to come up with the answer for all of our problems, they end up having to sacrifice so many of us in the process of trying to get to this sort of quote-unquote perfect world, right? Because humans, as it were, tend not to play by the rules, right? Now, here's the thing with Mao. I'm not saying that Mao was a good guy, but Mao's plans weren't completely misplaced. When Mao started to realize that his people were dying of famine and this system wasn't working, he actually backtracked, right? He did actually change his rules and he sort of opened it up again and sort of allowed people to own their own shit again, at least to some extent. So it's clear, at least from his actions, that he wasn't planning on killing millions of his own people. He genuinely thought that he could build a communist utopia. I sort of put Lenin in the same sort of space, right? Because I think Lenin also, he was misguided because he believed in communism, right? But Lenin also thought that he could truly build this communist utopia that then just failed, and Lenin tried to adapt. He tried to adjust, and he tried to sort of give people back some of their rights so that they could start building again and start making food again. Stalin, on the other hand, I would put through as just an absolute evil bastard, because even when his people were dying, like by the millions, Stalin never changed his policies. Stalin just stuck to it. He was like, yeah, well, fuck him, right? The problem is everyone wants a perfect world, but everyone has a different vision of a perfect world. Rob the Fool, the problem is that everyone's perfect world looks different. That's the problem. That's why you can never make a quote-unquote perfect world. Because what's perfect for me is not necessarily going to be perfect for the next person. If you listen to someone like Klaus Schwab, right, the president of the World Economic Forum, his idea of the perfect world is that everyone has a home, right? So everyone has a place to live. Everyone has food, and no one owns anything, right? So you don't own your home, you simply rent it. You don't own your car, you probably share with others. You don't own anything. You rent everything, but you have money to rent those things. They just don't belong to you. And that's his idea of a perfect world. He thinks that's what will lead people to being happy. And they sort of call it stakeholder capitalism, because the idea is that while everyone else, while the rest of us will only rent, right? We won't own. There will be a few people at the top, the stakeholders of the capitalist system, that they will own everything, right? So these stakeholders at the top, they'll own everything, and everyone else will just rent from these guys at the top. Now, for some people, that might be fine. And there are always people that do well in a world where they're told what to do, right? That's always going to be the case. You will always get humans like this. But that's not going to be great for a lot of other people, right? A lot of us, like, I wouldn't be fine with that. I would not be okay with that, because I want more out of life than that. That's not what I want out of life. And I'm sure there's many others. So what ends up happening then is, because I don't view his perfect world as my perfect world, I now start pulling away, right? I cause friction because I'm not okay with the system. And this is usually where those communist utopias fall down. That's where they falter, is because you have people like me that aren't okay with the status quo. I don't want this life. I want more out of life. And I can't get more out of life, so I need to take what I can't get. And that causes the friction. And now, we're going to fight wars, and we're going to fight civil wars because, well, technically speaking, one half of the country at least isn't happy with the status quo. So that's why you can never have a perfect system. P. Diddley, I don't think it's broken. For the world to exist, you need, and I don't mean this to sound as horrible as it may sound, but not at all. For the world to exist, you need the worker ant, right? You need that guy that doesn't really question his reality. He wakes up every morning, goes to work, does what he's told, goes home, maybe goes out to the pub on the weekend, have a couple of beers with his mates, head back home, go to work, does as he's told, sticks by the rules, right? You need those people. Humanity, or at least society, cannot exist without those people. The issue is humanity can't exist just with those people, right? You also need the mavericks. You need the ones that go, fuck this. Is this the best life can be? Hell no, right? I'm going to change it. I'm going to make it better. And then you're always going to need almost all of those people. But without the worker ant, things are not going to get done. If everyone comes up with new ideas of how to make the world better, but no one is the worker ant to actually implement those ideas, nothing will ever get done. We'll basically be a species of people sitting around just talking about what could be a better world, right? and so you kind of need those. I don't view it as broken. I just think that's what it is. And that's just what some people are, right? Certain people, like serial killers, have different functioning brains than your everyday average person. Yeah, but now you're sort of shifting the argument, Peter Lee, right? Because now you're moving the argument into serial killers. In that case, we know. But I mean, serial killers is 1% of the human population. So that's not that's not a large enough group of people to sort of cause a rule to be instated there. You need those people, so pay them the same. Living life, what do you mean when you say pay them the same? The only problem is they need to be properly paid. What does properly paid mean? Like, what does it mean? I don't know what it means when you say pay them the same or paid properly. Because would you not agree that it's far more fair to pay someone what they're worth? Let me ask it this way. Do you think a person that's 18 years old, that have just started flipping burgers at McDonald's is worth as much as a guy that's been flipping burgers for 4 years? Do you think that they are worth the same amount of money? Living life, that doesn't... No. Worth. They're not worth the same. The person that's been flipping burgers for 4 years will probably be able to do 200 burgers in a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whereas the guy that literally just started working will not be able to do that. So they're not worth anywhere near the same amount of money. I agree that you should be paid what you are worth, but I do not believe that that just automatically gives you the right to X amount of money. That I do not agree with. And I'll tell you why. We can literally look at this practically. What happens when you institute a minimum wage? So what happens when a country goes and says, right, the minimum wage is now $15 an hour? What happens? Okay, I'll explain it, because all of you are correct there. Ferorius, how you doing, man? Moni, how you doing? Jörg, how you doing? All of you are correct, but let me explain it to you in a practical sense that makes you understand what happens when you institute a $15 minimum wage. Okay, now imagine you are a small restaurant, right? You've just opened up. You need about 10 people to work for you. The problem is that where you are, you have to pay $15 an hour. This immediately puts you at a very, very big disadvantage, right? Because you probably can't afford to pay 10 people $15 an hour. It's $150 per hour that you have to take out of your non-existent cash flow at the minute. So what ends up happening is most restaurants do not open because they literally just can't afford to open, because they need at least 10 people in order to get the restaurant off the ground, but they can't afford 10 people. So they're going to do one of two things. Let's say this guy really wants to open. Well, number one, he's never going to hire the 18-year-old that just finished high school, because he needs to pay $15 an hour for a guy that has no experience whatsoever. So the 18-year-old that just got out of high school is shut out of luck. He's not getting a job. They're going to go for the people that is actually qualified, that knows what the hell they're doing, right? So he's not going to get a cook and take a chance on that cook. He doesn't have $15 an hour to waste or to gamble with. So he's going to go with people that are actually actually experienced in what they're doing. More importantly, he's probably not going to hire 10 people. He's going to try and find technological ways of getting around needing 10 people. So I've seen restaurants that actually do this, where they don't have waiters. They don't have waiters. What they have is people sort of have to place their order at the till, or they'll have iPads and things, right? Where people place their order, and then all they have is like one person that just brings out the food when it's ready. So basically cutting costs as much as possible. So your $15 an hour that you theoretically wanted to give all these people, there's now a shit ton of people that isn't even getting any money. They're not getting $7 an hour. They're not getting $8 an hour. They're not getting $5 an hour. They're getting $0 per hour because the businesses can't afford to pay all these people $15 an hour. Now, does the Amazons of the world or the Microsofts of the world, do they have the money to pay $15 an hour? Yes, absolutely they do. The problem is that if you made minimum wage $15 an hour only for those large companies, no one would want to work at the other companies, the smaller companies, because the smaller companies can't pay $15 an hour, and therefore no one will work for these smaller companies. So now you have a bunch of companies that's going bankrupt because they don't have people to actually work for them. At the end of the day, minimum wage sounds nice. And you want to know where minimum wage actually works? Do you know in which countries minimum wage actually works brilliantly? The Scandinavian countries. They all have minimum wages, and it works wonderfully. You want to know why? Because almost no one works for minimum wage in the Scandinavian countries. They are the highest educated countries in the world in terms of percentage. Most people get an education. So when they enter the workplace, they don't work for $15 an hour. They don't need to. So what ends up happening is businesses that need people to work, at minimum wage, don't have enough workers to get. Even if they paid more, they wouldn't get enough workers. So those are the only countries where it actually works. All developing nations, or nations where you have more people that is uneducated than what you have people that is highly educated, minimum wages tend to lead to only one thing: mass poverty. And if you want to see that in action, just look at Los Angeles. California is the most progressive state in the US. It has minimum wages. It has all of the taxes that most of the progressives really want. And yet it has the highest unemployment rate in the US. It has the highest number of homeless people in the US. And it's getting worse every single year. Why? Because if a business cannot afford to pay $15 an hour, they don't hire anyone. It's as simple as that. The answer is definitely not a minimum wage. The answer is more competition. You want to get people to be paid more? More competition. More businesses. There needs to be more businesses than what there are actually people looking for work. Because that's how you drive up the minimum wage. If businesses have to fight for workers, the only way a business can fight for a worker is higher pay. I want to pay you more to make sure that you can work for me because I need the workers. More competition will almost always lead to higher wages. Less competition will almost always lead to lower wages, because if you have fewer businesses than what there are actual workers, well, you don't need to fight for workers. So I don't have to pay you $15 an hour or $20 an hour, right? I don't have to. Why the hell would I do that? I can pay you whatever, because I don't have a shortage of workers. Now, none of this can be solved in a vacuum, just to be clear, because I see people asking different questions, and these are different questions with different answers. Yurak, for example, you ask about the CEOs that is getting millions upon millions of dollars. I don't agree with that the same as you. As a staunch capitalist, I do not agree with that. I agree fully that right now, CEOs are taking way too much money. Way too much. But again, when you have a system where only a few companies control the vast majority of the market, that is what happens. That is what happens. Because who does Amazon, just quick question, who do you think Amazon competes with? Like, who is Amazon's biggest competition? Yeah, it's no one, right? There is no one, take a lot, lol. There is no one that Amazon competes with in any way, shape, or form. Amazon is in a league of its own. So Amazon doesn't have to worry about expansion. It doesn't have to worry about making its business better, about reinvesting its money. Avedon, how you doing, fam? 8 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amazon is already coaxing. They're already so large that they don't have to compete with anyone. So when Jeff Bezos takes home, $1 billion, it's because he can. That $1 billion doesn't need to be reinvested into the company. He doesn't have to grow his business because he's competing with 4 or 5 other companies in order to, keep alive. So the CEO's pay basically becomes what would have ordinarily been spent in the business. If you look at small businesses, they do this all the time, right? Small business owners tend to take very little money every month because most of their money goes back into their business. If you're a small restaurant and you can seat maybe 20 people, your biggest dream is to be able to seat 25 or 30 people. So whenever you have some extra cash lying around, you might spend that on extra tables or maybe by, increasing the size of your shop a little, because at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. So you're not going to take a massive salary. You're instead going to try and increase your capital, increase your business. But if you're Amazon, why the fuck would you care about that? Why does Amazon need to increase its business? It is the largest out there. It doesn't have to work very hard in order to get people to, use its services because everyone uses it already. So its profits go straight into the pockets of the CEOs and the executives. If you want to get the CEOs and the executives and their salaries under control, you need to build competition. How do you build competition? By getting out of the way. The problem, usually, why we don't have enough competition is the red tape created by government. Because businesses have to jump through so many hoops in order to actually get their business up and running. I've been watching, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Have any of you here watched Clarkson's Farm? Kill local business, then close up shop. Yeah, well, Walmart does that. Amazon does this too, by the way. Just kills small businesses. All right, so Clarkson's Farm highlights perfectly why government regulations are so terrible for businesses. So Clarkson wants to set up a shop, right? A farm shop. And in the farm shop, he wants to sell things. This was during the COVID era where most businesses are closing down. Very few people have, food was sort of, supply lines were starting to become a problem and shit like this. He wants to set up a shop. The government, however, will not allow him to set up the shop unless he buys everything that he sells in the store locally. It has to be bought from the local people. The problem is that locally, not everything that they want to sell in the store is made locally. Milk, for example, is made in Gloucestershire, which is 8 miles away. But he's not allowed to buy the milk from Gloucestershire because he has to buy everything in the town that the business is in. Otherwise, they take away his planning permission and the shop is not allowed to operate. The problem is there's no one in the area that actually sells milk. So this is a farm shop that sells farm produce, but it can't sell milk because the milk is from 8 miles away and he's not allowed to buy from 8 miles away. You see, this is the problem with government. That red tape now means that Jeremy Clarkson can't open his store. Now, Jeremy Clarkson doesn't mind much because he's already a millionaire. So obviously this doesn't, but remove Jeremy Clarkson and think you're just a normal business owner. Right? You're a normal business owner, you're a normal farmer, and you want to set up this farm shop. What are you to do? You see, Amazon doesn't have that problem. You want to buy Amazon, you want to buy milk from Amazon in this small town, you can do so. Because Amazon isn't actually operating within the small town. It doesn't need planning permission from the small town. It'll just deliver it to you. Simple as that. So the small shop owner can't sell his milk, but Amazon can. You see, and that really is the main problem with government. government needs to get out of the way of people so that people can actually start businesses and start competing. Then you will see CEO salaries coming down. You'll see more people employed. You'll eventually see wages going up tenfold as companies start to compete for people. And more importantly, you'll actually find growth becomes a possibility again. Because that is actually, I think, one of the biggest reasons so many people are angry with the system today is the lack of growth. You know, if you don't have a college degree, what opportunities to growth do you have? No. Living life, you think more competition will lead to higher wages and higher prices, when we literally know that it's not true. More competition almost always leads to lower prices. No, okay. Only one thing creates inflation. There is only one thing that creates inflation, and that's government money printing. Nothing else creates inflation. The only way you get inflation is by the government printing money. It's a very simple thing to understand when you understand economics. What is inflation, chat? What is inflation? What is it? Let's answer that question first. What is inflation? It's the loss of value of your currency. In other words, $1 loses its ability to purchase over the course of time. So let's say, for example, you have a suite. Let's imagine this phone, right? This phone right here costing $1. Inflation says that in a year from now, this phone will cost $1.10 if my inflation is 10%. $1.10. So that means that my dollar has lost 10% of its purchasing power, because my dollar can no longer buy this phone. I need more dollars in order to purchase this phone now. That's what inflation is. It's money losing its purchasing power. Now, when you start to think about that, people getting higher wages is not directly related to inflation. Why would it be? It's just people getting more money. That's not the problem. The only way you can get inflation is by government printing. So this usually happens when the government artificially boosts people's money supply. So, for example, when the government prints money to give people grants so that people can, sort of live, at least make a living for themselves. But the problem is the government is printing money. How can you just print money out of nothing? The answer is you can't. You can't just make money. Otherwise, it has no value. The reason money has value is because it's hard to get. But if you can just print it, then it has no value. Why would I want something that can just be made up whenever it wants to? This is why gold was such an interesting form of currency, because when gold was a currency, gold is hard to make. It's hard to get. So it had value. And to this day, it still has value. Even though it's no longer a money supply, we still care about it, right? We still care about gold because gold is money. Can someone ban OG, whatever the fuck his name is, because he's stupid? The main issue that you have in our world today is governments printing money as if it's going out of fashion. Inflation happens, and then the government blames everyone else for its inflation. Like Biden standing up saying, oh, inflation, it's because of Russia invading Ukraine. No, it's not. It's because you guys printed money during COVID as if nothing would ever happen. You printed more money during COVID than you did in the 100 years before COVID. Of course, inflation was going to happen, right? Because why wouldn't it? You're printing money. Your money isn't worth what it used to be. And so it's going to inflate. It has to. That's the only thing. That inflation is the economy's tool to get money under control. European Union printed money 10 years without inflation effect, which also economists are wondering why. So is inflation more affected that people are not spending money? So TPL, the problem with inflation is a it's actually psychological more so than physical. So this is weird to explain, but inflation happens because people start losing faith in the system. Because technically speaking, you can print as much money as you want and nothing will go wrong. Technically speaking. Because at the end of the day, it's just money. You could go out and print as much as you want. The problem is that there's human psychology that comes in. And this is usually psychology on a much larger scale than any of you would, any of us would ever deal. But why is America allowed to print as much money as it wants? Because the rest of the world buys dollars. The rest of the world needs a shit ton of dollars. But now what ends up happening is, after a while of printing money as if, nothing would ever go wrong, the rest of the world does start asking questions like, hold up. You can't just print this money just non-stop and expect nothing to go wrong, right? And this is usually where inflation starts setting in. Because I'm getting scared. I'm starting to get scared that you might have printed too much money, and now my money is going to be worth less. So now I hike my prices. I push my prices up. Because I'm not entirely sure if your money is going to be worth what it is now in a year from now. So I'm hiking prices. So this is why inflation tends to have a very lagging effect. If you listen to economists, they'll say this. They'll always say inflation is a lagging indicator. Because usually the thing that causes inflation happened years before the actual inflation. Because inflation is human psychology. If you could build a world where you can print as much money as you want and people will just never lose faith in the currency, that'd be fine. Then, print as much as you want. Nothing could ever stop you. That just isn't how that works. Humans aren't stupid. Collectively, we understand this is money because it's hard to get. That's not money because it's fucking easy to get. Printed for governments to then spend. The governments, however, weren't spending on anything that would enter general economy until things like furlough came along. I mean, we can talk about the printing during COVID as well. I have a bunch of problems with that. And my biggest one is that most of the money that was printed by the countries in the world didn't even go to the people that were suffering the most. It didn't go to normal people that genuinely had lost their jobs, whose businesses were forced to close, and who couldn't feed themselves. Amazon got checks from the government during COVID. Amazon was one of the few companies that were allowed to stay open during COVID, and yet they had to, they got a check from the government to say, we don't want you to lose money. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? What about the normal people that have lost their jobs, right? What about them? Nick Specs, thanks for the follow, man. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. Record profits, we got record layoffs. Yeah, well, that's just how it works, right? Toilet. Yeah, of course you have to pay for it, living life. Because, okay, so the answer to the question, should I pay for something, boils down to fairness. Does toilet paper grow naturally in the field? The answer is no, right? Someone had to make the toilet paper. So if you demand that your toilet paper should be free, what you're effectively demanding is slavery. You're effectively saying that those people that make my toilet paper should be my slave. They should work for free. Now, of course, you're prettying it up because you think the government should pay for that. Okay, but now you're just turning everyone else into your slave. Because all of the rest of us that's actually working for our shit, we now have to pay our taxes so that you can get your shit for free. Right? So we're now your slave because you're too fucking lazy to work. This, by the way, is my big problem with the whole, forgive student debt. You chose to go to university, even though the prices of university are absolutely ridiculous. You chose that. And yet, it's going to be everyone else's responsibility, including those people who didn't go to university, to pay back your fucking debt. How is that fair? You should have been responsible, looked at your course and be like, yeah, I can't afford that. That's very expensive. Fuck this uni thing. I guess I'll just go work. But you didn't. You took out the loans. You took out the loans. You signed for those loans. And now when it's time to pay up, now you're saying, well, actually, I think everyone else should be paying for my loans. I think that's just fair that everyone else should pay for this because fuck it. That is just horrible. That is so selfish. So selfish. That everyone else must pay because you made the wrong decision. Rob the Fool, you're 18 years old. You don't need someone else to look at a number on a piece of paper and be like, that is a lot of money. I think that is more money than what this course is actually worth. You're 18. You can't claim that, I was a stupid kid. If you were 12 years old when you took out a student loan, sure thing. You were 12. You shouldn't have been able to take out that loan in the first place. But you're 18 years old. You are smart enough to look at that and be like, that's a lot of money. I'm not going to fucking spend that. Now, if we wanted to have a conversation about universities in the US and how evil universities in the US are, I'm more than happy to have that conversation because I do agree with you that something has to be done. University fees are way too high in the US, and it is a combination of government, banks, and universities that have basically driven prices as high as it is. What I do not agree with is that you can force everyone else to pay for your fees. What the government should do instead is move in and tell these universities, look, the fucking fun is over. Your prices are ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. You're going to slash your prices. You're going to bring it back to normal, right? And you're going to adjust everyone else's student loans to these new prices. Now, of course, I don't necessarily agree that the government should be doing it because the government is part of the reason why this problem exists in the first place. Because technically, what the government has done in the US, the government has backed student loans in the US. So basically, what the government has done is the government gave the banks and the universities a blank check. It said to the banks and the universities, look, if the students cannot pay their student loans, we will pay it. Now, if you're a greedy banker, what do you hear? I can charge as much as I fucking want. Because I'm guaranteed to get the money back. If you're a greedy university, what do you hear? Shit. So it doesn't matter, right? I don't have to be rational in my pricing. I can charge $100,000 per semester or per year. And if they can't pay it, the government will pay it. Fuck yeah. That's why fees are so high in the US. I live in South Africa, right? We don't have free tertiary education. University you have to pay for. University fees in South Africa is a fraction of what it is in the US. And a lot of universities in South Africa are actually top-notch universities, ranked among some of the best in the world. They're not bad universities, right? But there's a reason for it. Student loans in South Africa are backed by no one but the parents. So if you want to get a student loan from a bank in South Africa, your parents have to co-sign for that loan. Basically, if you can't pay the loan, your parents will have to pay the loan. That's the deal. There's no government involvement there. So most banks will not pay for student loans that are too high. Because loans in South Africa, even student loans, still operate under the Debt Act of South Africa. The Debt Act of South Africa says that your premiums, so in other words, your repayments, may not be more than 20% of whatever is left over in your account after all expenses have been paid. So after you've paid for your car and your home and all that, what is the premium going to be on this loan? And it may not be more than 20% of what is left in your account. So ultimately, the banks hold the universities in check. The universities could hike their prices as high as possible, but then the banks will step in and be like, nah, fam, we're not paying for this. And then the university has a problem. It's not going to be able to get as many students because most students need financial aid. But they can't get financial aid because the banks won't pay for it. Because the bank's not going to give a loan that it's going to lose money on. When I went to university, my tuition yearly was about $3,000. That was my tuition for a year. And I think that included books. It was about $3,000-$4,000 a year. Housing was actually more expensive than university fees. Rob the Fool, true. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit around this, right? That's a very good explanation, actually. Mine was around 15k a year. CCS, yeah. I mean, 15k is what? In dollar terms, that's not even $1,000 a year, right? Like I said, housing was more expensive. Like, the most expensive part of going to university is paying for the house that you live in. Ask about that. Your government, it's only USA that has this 21-year to drink bullshit. Yeah, that's true, Bergo. I don't understand. But it's not even every state in the US that have 21 years old to drink. Which is just wild to me. Why? Why must you be 21 to drink? And why is there some states that okay, this is bullshit. And then other states that just said, no, 21 is good. Let's keep it at 21. I'm pretty sure there's a few states that have 18 as the legal drinking age. Someone told me that. I was speaking to an American, and I said, oh, but you guys can only drink after 21. And he was like, no, in my state I can drink from the age of 18. But I can't remember what state he was in. So I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on this. Let's Google that. Does every state in the US have a 21 limit on drinking? Oh, wait. It is now a national minimum wage? Not minimum wage. It's a national act. Wait, fuck. What does this say? Hold up. I'm clicking on a Center for Disease Control Prevention something thing. Hold up. Let's see here. So age 21 minimum legal drink. A minimum legal drinking age of 21 saves lives and protects health. I don't agree with this at all. Minimum legal drinking age laws specify the legal age when an individual can purchase alcoholic beverages. The MLDA in the United States is 21 years. However, prior to the enactment of the National Minimum Drinking Age Act of 1984, the legal age when alcohol could be purchased varied from state to state. I don't agree with this at all. I think when you're 18... When you're 18, you can drink. What's the problem? At least that's how, like, actually, I started drinking when I was 16. You couldn't buy your own alcohol, but fuck, there's always someone willing to buy you some alcohol, right? So, yeah, we started drinking when we were 16. Dude, this is just wild to me. 21 years old in order to drink. But you can have sex at the age of 18. But no, I mean, I don't drink anymore, so I don't really mind it. What is wild to me, though, is that alcohol, alcohol is completely legal, but weed isn't. And I would argue if you're really gonna talk about what causes more harm, alcohol is a hell of a lot worse than weed, I think. Not that I smoke weed either, but I do think in a world where you could have a choice, I would rather... There's plenty of drugs that I would allow before I would allow alcohol. Some kiosk run by an old Chinese lady who did not give a fuck to who she sold a couple of beers. My first time ever getting drunk was on vodka, and it was called Russian Bear vodka. Dude, it's the cheapest vodka you can get. To this day, I cannot drink vodka. I cannot even smell it. It is just... It brings back gag memories, like proper gag reflexes when I smell vodka. It is terrible. Bottom shelf vodka? Dude, we're talking... So, normal alcohol was like... For a bottle of decent vodka. So we're talking middle shelf, proper... Like, this is proper vodka. You can take it somewhere. You'd pay maybe 90 bucks, right? 90 rand. This shit was like 30 rand. So a third of the price of middle vodka. This was the kind of stuff that they would put in punches. Like, if you were to make like a fruit punch with like a bunch of different alcohols, you'd put this Russian Bear vodka in there because it tastes like vodka, but it's not a good taste, right? It's just alcohol, at least. Straw rum and sherry for me. Dude, I used to live on straw rum. I would do straw rum shots, but straw 80, not straw 40, straw 80. I basically, when I was like 2021, I had this thing where every single time I go to the bar to get a new drink, I have to take a shot of straw rum. Every single time. And then eventually straw rum sort of... Most bars no longer stocked straw rum. I think it became illegal. They weren't allowed to stock straw 80 anymore. So then I switched to Jägermeister. And that became my new... Every time I go for a drink, I have to take a shot of Jägermeister. Rob the Fool, it's not even about the taste of alcohol for me. I don't like the feeling of alcohol. Like, genuinely speaking, give me a nice cup of tea, cup of coffee, or even Pepsi Max, something to that effect, although I've tried to stay away from the carbonated drinks for the last few weeks as well. But, yeah, I don't like the taste of that shit. Like, alcohol just tastes miserable. I don't know why people drink it, because ultimately there's things that taste a hell of a lot better than alcohol. Sebi, how you doing, fam? Oh shit, the Australian is here to call me out. Like, fuck. Of course there'd be an Australian coming out in defense of alcohol. I have no memories of one night because of vodka. It was vodka with licorice candy dissolved into it. I had drunk 75% of the bottle within half an hour and don't have any memories until the moment I was losing my stomach content above the toilet. Fuck. She's slipping. I don't drink often because I don't like the effects after, like dehydration and potentially hungover. I'm from Poland, so we can talk. You have no idea. I would say Australians drink at least as hard as South Africans. Like, South Africans can drink. Make no mistake. South Africans can fucking drink, bro. And I would say the culture, like, culturally, South Africans and Australians are very similar. No. Barbie outside, meat on the fucking grill, beers on a Saturday, watching the rugby, in South Africa, watching the Springboks take on the Australians and hopefully smashing them in Australia, the opposite. It's very similar cultures, and the culture is basically drink as much as you can. Bubble stuff, that sounds a lot like the UK for that 1 week in the summer. Yeah, you see, we have... we have a... I would say 90% of the year is perfect for... like, it's perfect for drinking and barbecuing outside. 90% of the year. If not more. Even wintertime. Dude, most people I know, even in winter, will have a barbecue outside. They don't give a shit. The only thing South Africans will do is they'll do it a little earlier. So instead of normally putting the meat on the barbie at, say, 7 p.m. in the evening, they'll now put it on the grill at like 5. Because it gets chilly in the evening, right? So by the time evening time comes, you want to already be sloshed out of your fucking brain so you don't even feel the cold. And for that, you have to eat first. So they just put the meat on a little earlier so that they can get sloshed later. You can always fry outside as long as you keep the fire dry. True. When I was younger, I'd cook outside in the winter. Now I hate being cold. When I'm Slovak, that is something, let me tell you. Yeah, you guys get snow and shit, don't you? We don't get snow. Seen that new Asmongold podcast, by the way? I have not, no. There is an Asmongold video that I wanted to react to. Screw it. I'll do it now. Because Asmongold made a video based on the harassment of streamers and shit. And I wanted to watch it. Yeah. You don't ever get snow? Not where I live. Not where I live, no. Yeah, I know Zepla was harassed. I'm gonna watch this specific video. All right.
Take on you.
So we'll watch this, and let's see. Let's see what Asmon has to say. How I deal with harassment on the internet. So I can give you guys a quick spoiler. How do I deal with harassment on the internet? I don't give a fuck. That's how I deal with it. I don't care at all. If someone says something mean to me, I just go, okay, ban him. And that's the end of the discussion for me. I don't really give a shit. But all right, let's hear.
Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you all about internet harassment and how I deal with it and the best practices to deal with it that I've learned so far. And I'm going to be talking about this primarily on a functional level, like how to deal with it in your stream, on your YouTube channel, etc. And then also how to deal with it in terms of mental toll, emotional toll that it can take on you, and the best way to go about it in the healthiest way possible. So it goes as no surprise, and it's no secret that a lot of people have been harassed online recently, and I'm
Yep.
pretty sure if you're watching this video a year after it came out, this is probably still going to be true because that's just the way the internet works. And I think that there's a very unfortunate paradox of creating content online, which is if you create content online, you should expect to be harassed. You should expect to have people bring up the worst things about you. Like if you're fat, they're going to call you fat.
That fucking happens often. That happens often. Now, you can react to being called fat, right? To someone coming in and being like, "Oh my god, you're so fat." If you give them like if you show them that got to you, that's usually the feed that they need in order to keep going. Whereas I think a huge part of being a content creator, specifically being online and being in the limelight, if you're a live streamer specifically, I feel like YouTube is a little easier there because you can choose not to read comments. You can even block certain words from ever showing up in your comments. So if you really didn't want to be called fat, you could obviously block those words and YouTube will keep those words out of the comment section. Twitch isn't that easy. Like there's, it's more live. It's more real in that sense. But I feel like one of the biggest things is you have to be honest with yourself. Right? So if you're someone that doesn't think that you're fat, even though you are, and there are people like that, right, that try to hide the fact that they're fat, then that call out is going to hit very hard if someone comes in and calls you fat. Whereas if you're honest with yourself and you know, right, I am a fat cunt, right? That's just how it is. I feel like those types of comments, and it's not just for fat, it's for literally everything. You have to be your own worst critic. You have to be very honest with yourself about what your shortcomings are, and you have to accept them. Doesn't mean you don't have to work on them. I don't go to the gym every single day because I want to stay fat. I go to the gym every single day because obviously I want to lose weight. But at the same time, being honest with yourself and calling yourself out is incredibly important.
If you're ugly, they're going to call you ugly. If you're balding, they're going to call you balding. So it doesn't matter what it is. People are going to pick out the most unflattering thing about you and then try to use that to hurt you. And that's just the way that things are on the internet. This is something you can expect to happen on the internet. And the paradox part of this is that it never should happen. A person should never have to deal with this. A person should never have to be told this kind of stuff. They should never have to be harassed. But it's a catch-22. You should not make content online if you can't deal with harassment, but harassment should not happen online either. So that's the world that we live in. So I'd like to tell people kind of how I navigate that space. I've had a lot of times where people have been angry at me. Sometimes I've dealt with it in a good way, sometimes I haven't. And I've learned from that in both ways. I think that sometimes failing teaches you more than succeeding does.
True.
So anyway, I think the first place that I want to start off at is how to deal with, how to categorize people's feedback. And I made a tweet about this recently, is that there are a lot of people who like posting their hot takes on the internet. They like, saying the thing that's controversial. They like being a little bit edgy. And then the moment that anybody says, hey, that's really edgy, I don't like that, shut the fuck up, you're wrong, that's stupid, then they're like, oh my god, I'm getting harassed. I'm sorry, guys. But being harassed on the internet is not whenever people disagree with you, okay?
True.
Being disagreed with and disagreement and people not...
I think there's something else there too. If you go out of your way looking for reactions, so if you go out of your way, a great example of this would be Hogwarts Legacy, okay? It is a great game. It's a phenomenal game, and I can't wait to play it in a bit. But here's the rub. Every streamer that fired up Hogwarts Legacy had to know that in the eyes of some on the internet, they were inviting drama. They were inviting it. Now, if you get drama for playing it, and you then feel attacked because you got drama, well, what the fuck were you doing? If you can't handle the heat that would obviously be thrown at you, why the hell were you streaming the game in the first place? When you knew that this game was going to bring drama. There is at least 10% crazy people out there that think that this is the worst game that's ever been made. Now, they're insignificant, and they truly are. They don't matter, but they do exist, and they will make your life miserable. If you can't handle that, don't stream games like that. Stick to My Little Pony. That's a game for you. There's very little edgy drama shit there. Don't play the games that's gonna invite it. And then when you get what you've invited, don't cry about it. Now, does that mean that the people that were harassing them is fine? No, of course not. They're mentally retarded. But there's always going to be retarded people out there. There's nothing you can do about that. But if you invite the mentally retarded people to your stream because you're playing something that they're going to be retarded about, then you have to accept that too. That's just how it goes.
Thinking the same thing you do, that's not them harassing you, okay? But there is a lot of cases of actual harassment. So I'd like to show people a little bit how kind of like I differentiate the two. So number one is that if a person puts in their comment a personal insult on your physical appearance,
yeah,
that comment goes in the garbage.
True.
Instantaneously. I stop reading it. I stop caring. I stop even taking it seriously in any capacity. So if they're calling you fat, if they're calling you ugly, if they're making fun of your physical appearance in any way whatsoever, you should probably just take that criticism and throw it in the garbage, because the odds are this person just fundamentally does not like you, and this is just what's going to happen. Like, you put yourself out there, and there's going to be.
It's not even necessarily just fundamentally doesn't like you. There are people that just like seeing emotions from other people. They want to get that rise. They call themselves trolls, even though that's not what trolling is. But that is what they call themselves. And they're saying it purely because they want to see you react. The best reaction there is to literally just tell one of your mods, can you guys ban this guy, please? And go on. Move on with your life. You also don't have to take it. I would say that's probably something that I made the mistake in the beginning of my streaming career. Because here's the thing, right? I am a massive believer in free speech. I believe in absolute free speech. I do not believe that free speech should ever be infringed upon. And I made the mistake of extending that to my spaces, which it isn't, right? Free speech gives you the right to say whatever the hell you want. It does not mean that I have to listen to it. There's a massive difference there. You don't have the freedom to force me to listen to your shit. You have the freedom to say it, but this is my chat. Twitter is my Twitter profile. If I don't like the things that you're saying on my Twitter in my chat, I will ban you. And that's not me infringing upon your freedom of speech. I didn't ban you off the fucking internet. I just banned you out of my space. And I dealt with that for a while. I dealt with people coming into my chat, making it miserable for almost everyone in the chat because, I didn't want to infringe on people's freedom of speech until I recognized, but wait a second, this is not your space. You didn't create this. I created this. My community created this. And we don't have to listen to your bullshit. So I take a much harder stance on that. Just ban him, done. I'm over it. I'm not going to discuss it. I don't need to know why you think I'm fat. You said it. That was a great comment. Now you're banned. Good luck to you,
A lot of people that just simply don't like you. And what's even more odd about this is that there will be people that don't like you because a lot of other people do like you. It's the same as there's contrarians, right? They're the people that hate all the pop.
You get that in YouTube comments all the time. I got one yesterday. I don't give a fuck about likes, even though that comment got over 60. Nobody even commented on my post, but you always get that one single smart-ass troll who want to bait you. I just delete that comment, paste it back in, go on with my day. Well, yeah. SMF, you don't owe anyone a minute of your time. Remember that always. If you watch this and you're a content creator or maybe want to become a content creator, no one deserves your time. You choose to spend that time with your audience. If someone's making that time less enjoyable, just ban them. That's why those buttons exist. There is a reason why mods can ban someone with 2 clicks. It's so that you don't have to deal with that shit. It's as simple as that.
Popular shows, they don't listen to the songs on the radio, these kinds of guys. So that's just the way that they are with content creators as well. You just have to be ready to acknowledge that if you want to make yourself happy, you have to know and acknowledge that there will be other people that don't want that to happen. And it's not fair, it's not good, and it is true. And I think there's a lot of elements to this
Humans, man.
pretty much along those lines. Is that there are things that should not happen, but they do, and this is how to deal with them whenever they do happen. So anyway, any criticism, any feedback that people give you that is tied to a personal insult, that is tied to your personal appearance, your physical appearance, throw that in the garbage. The next thing to do is to also look at comments of people that are like actually trying to engage with you, because I don't think that it's always a bad idea to engage with and try to talk to people that might have a different point of view. But one thing that I've definitely learned is that there have been a number of these times, and I'll give you guys an example of this, right? So how many of you all have seen, like, I don't want to go too far off on a tangent, so I'll try to keep this short. How many of you guys all seen an article, and the article puts out misinformation? And then the article stays up, and then the misinformation is corrected later on, but the misinformation has like 1,000 likes, and the article had 100,000. So the misinformation just doesn't really, or the claim that the actual correction has like almost no traction, but everybody still believes the base article.
Yeah, but that's always going to happen.
This is an unfortunate reality of the internet, because the base article is probably more interesting, so people care more about that than whether it was fake or not. That doesn't really matter. And I think that also goes into another bigger element that I'm going to talk about soon, is treating yourself like an entertainment station and treating yourself not like a person, which is very important.
I like what Asmongold just said there. How many times have I told you? My job here is to entertain you. The job of streamers is to be monkeys. Dance, monkey, dance. That's it. That's my job here. My job isn't to change your mind. My job isn't to educate you. If you want education, go to a fucking university or a school. This is not my job here. My job is to entertain you. Now, do I have hot takes? Of course I do. Do I have things that I believe in? Of course I do. My hope is that most people that is in this chat either believe the same things that I do, or are open to discussing their views in a manner that allows all of us to find some entertainment within that discussion. But I am first and foremost an entertainer. That's it. I'm here to make your life feel a little better for a few hours so that you can go out there and do the real important shit that makes humanity move forward, right? That's my job, right? I am the comic relief while you guys make the world better. So, effectively I'm the chord gesture. That's your job. And the problem is that a lot of people take themselves way too seriously in this industry. They believe themselves to be above it all. They believe themselves to be the arbiters of truth. And then if someone starts pushing back against you, it makes life very difficult, right? But surely I should get my political opinions from a sweaty guy playing COD? Well, yeah, of course, Siri, because that sweaty guy probably, he's been around the block a few times more than you have. So clearly he knows, right? I'm making the world better, though. I mean, you're probably trying, right? Can someone please Photoshop Akko's face on the Statue of Liberty? Dude, can I just show you? I really want to show you guys this. This is just insane. Ferorius made this. Best fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. This was on memes in Discord. It was so good. I had to post it on Twitter. I just had to. Anyways.
about that more. But anyway, so I made a video, and a person claimed that they had their video DMCA'd by Amazon because it was showing a hack or some sort of exploit in New World. And I said that Amazon was pieces of shit for doing this, and I went off on a tirade about this, and I said if this was true. Well, it turns out that it was not true. And I took the video down. I took it down because I was like, this video spreads misinformation that makes Amazon look bad in a way that was not true. And they still made a mistake by DMCAing the video, but it was not for this reason, so I issued a correction and I deleted the original video. Well, people, of course, guess what? People thought Jeff Bezos paid me to do that. So I went on and I made an honest, good faith effort to explain to people why I made the decision that I did. And they said, shut up. You're just being paid by Jeff Bezos again.
Yep, of course.
Was he paying you to make this video too? And the reality is that I'd say about half of those people are trolling and the other half are not. And the reason why I'm getting to this is that people never like being proven wrong.
True.
And people will more than likely say that they are trolling or
yes.
hold on to a bad opinion they have rather than actually change their opinion.
Oh, Sebywebs. When I first played Final Fantasy XIV, I had so many people in my comment section on YouTube basically saying the same thing, that I was being paid by Yoshi P and Final Fantasy or Square Enix to play Final Fantasy XIV. And what can you do, right? There's nothing you can do to prove that wrong. You just have to sort of go, okay, well, I guess then I haven't received that fucking check yet, Yeah, of course. Hell, if Squeenix wanted to pay me to play 14, I'd wear the cat ears and everything. I would be sitting here, full-blown Y'shtola cosplay, playing the shit out of Final Fantasy XIV right now. Jake's pounds. That's why he doesn't stream it anymore. Lol. It feels like only phone game companies pay streamers. Oh shit! I've gotten so many offers from phone companies, to stream their shitty games.
Whenever being presented with new evidence, because they don't have to change their
opinion. No, I wouldn't live a lot of
no obligation to be beholden to facts or like science or evidence or anything like that. They don't give a fuck about that. They just want to see you taken out. And in a lot of cases, it's not even about you. It's about they don't want to take an L themselves. So even whenever confronted with unverifiably or like undisputably verifiable evidence that this is not the case or another good argument, they will still not believe it because they don't want to.
CC, it's easy to understand why they do it. They don't actually watch the content. They know that you are a content creator, and they send out spam emails to literally every content creator hoping that one of them will bite. But yeah, I get one at least once a week from some or other shitty mobile game offering me absurd amounts of money to sort of push their game. And I just can't bring myself to do it. Like, I fucking hate mobile so much. It's just not something I can do.
I think this is another element here, is that people are going to believe what they want to believe.
True.
And it doesn't matter how good your argument is. It doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't matter how many times you rewrite the same tweet in your head. Listen, people are just going to think that, and it doesn't matter. I've always used a phrase, you build 100 bridges and you suck one dick. You're not a bridge builder, you're a dick sucker.
True.
And it doesn't matter what the proportion is. It matters how interesting it is to say what the different things are. What's more interesting, a dick sucker or a bridge builder? Well, I think a lot of people would say a dick sucker. So that's just the way the world works. And the reality is that oftentimes, like, I always looked at myself, because again, like, whenever you take criticism, I think it's important to kind of create an effigy of yourself that is who you are online. And it's kind of like a target dummy, a scarecrow, whatever you want to use. There's a million metaphors for this. But the point is that people attack the person who you are online, not necessarily you, because as anybody who makes content online knows, who you are online is not exactly who you are in real life. I think that there's a very large spectrum for this. You know, whether it's somebody who's streaming 24/7 or somebody like Dr. Disrespect who completely plays a character.
Yeah.
But in general, I think that this is true. Is that you generally act different on camera than you
Yeah,
do
of
off
course you
camera,
do.
in the same way that you probably act different around your friends than you do around.
I mean, you can actually see it. I think the best example of this is Asmongold, between his Asmongold Twitch channel and his Zach Roar Twitch channel. Now, how many of you are Asmongold viewers here? Yeah. Okay, so there's actually quite a few of you that like watching Asmongold. I'm one of you, so don't worry about that. The thing is, if you look at Asmongold when he's on the Asmongold channel versus on the Zachroar channel, the Zachroar channel is a lot more, dare I say, comparatively speaking, boring than the Asmongold channel. Because usually when you watch Zachroar, he's very calm, just sort of chilling, you know, not really talking too much, just playing his games, having fun, you know, that sort of thing. He's having fun while everyone else just gets to watch. The Asmongold channel is a lot more animated, right? It's very much in your face, controversial, big reactions to everything that happens. And that's generally true for all streamers. What you see is not necessarily, it's not, so some people, what you see is a complete lie, right? Someone like Dr. Disrespect, he's not that character at all IRL. What you see with Dr. Disrespect is a character that was created from the ground up by an actor to entertain. That's it. It's 100% all it is. What you see with, I think, streamers like myself, streamers like Asmongold, you see, I would say 90 to 95% of what I am. But then there is that 5% that makes things just a little bigger than what they would normally do, right? So normally, of course, my reactions would be a hell of a lot more muted, right? If I'm just watching a video on my own, I'm not going to be like, what? Holy shit, did you guys fucking see that? Right? Why would I do that? Right? It's just me sitting here. I'm not going to make any noise whatsoever. But because I am streaming, it's sort of natural. You're just naturally much more hyped up, much more animated, because you're trying to entertain. You're trying to make people laugh. You're trying to give people a bit of an escape before they go back to their lives and, you know, sort of make the world a better place or whatever the case might be. Your base character is your own personality dialed up to 11. Exactly that, Savvy Waves. Exactly that. My whole life is a lie. Hold up, I can use Avocadabra on people? No way. Hey, if you wanted to, you could probably do it. I thought Akka was 100% honest with us. I would say I'm genuinely 95% honest. But yeah, you do dial things up just a little. AK47, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the follow. Really appreciate that.
Around your grandma. So that's very normal. It's very healthy. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that also it allows you to disconnect.
CCS, no. Because there's a few things that's very present whenever I'm streaming. So number one, lights. Obviously, the lights are up. And the mic. All right. When I'm playing games on my own, the mic is over here. And the lights are down. The lights are completely off when I'm playing games on my own. So I know for a fact I'm not streaming. So no, I don't ever. There's been moments where I'll be playing a game on my own and something happens and I'll be like, fuck, I wish I was streaming. This was such a good moment. Like there are moments like that where I genuinely want to fucking kill myself because I should have been streaming. That moment was gold enough that people would have enjoyed seeing that. But most of the time, no. I don't really. When I'm playing games on my own, I'm just sort of doing my own thing.
Connect yourself and kind of have a little bit of dissonance between the things that people are saying to you and the things that personally bother you. And I felt that that helps me a lot. And also, I even took this a step further, and I've tried to do this in the last, like, maybe year or two, is that I've looked at everything that happens to me. I stopped viewing myself as a person. I've stopped viewing myself as an individual and, like, what I want, what I need, how I feel. I threw all those things in the garbage because nobody else cares about that. People care about the content. They care about being entertained.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, Nobody cares about you and they don't like you.
True.
So the way that I try to look at things is that I only look at perspectives and I only look at doing something from the perspective of how is the viewer going to feel about this, and also
Yeah, I
if
think
it's something that's in
that's actually clever. It is sort of, if someone criticizes you, they're not actually criticizing you. They're criticizing the character of you. And you can either take that on board and be like, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for me to make my character better, or just throw it away if it's just, meaningless attacks. The grain, no. When I'm streaming, I don't have OBS open. When I'm not streaming, I don't have OBS open. I have nothing open. I'm playing my game, right? And the games that I play offline are games that wouldn't be cool to stream. So, for example, this weekend I was watching Clarkson's Farm while playing Medieval Dynasty, because I don't think Medieval Dynasty would be a good game to stream. And obviously, I'm not allowed to stream Clarkson's Farm. So when those things are going, I have nothing else on. That's just what I'm doing.
my benefit, like, I don't know, doing a sponsorship or something like that, then I only look at it from that perspective. And I don't, oh, my monitor turned off. I'm using that as a light, by the way. There we go.
That
That's
is a
little bit better.
bright ass
And
monitor.
I try to
Fuck.
look at it in that way. And I know this might sound very odd and maybe even a little bit sociopathic, that I don't even view myself as a person whenever I'm online. But the truth is that I'm not. I'm just pixels. I'm not a real person. You don't see me. You're looking at a monitor and you're looking at a phone. And yes, of course, this is a I'm 14 and this is deep statement.
Like, I'll give you an example of what happened yesterday during Medieval Dynasty that I so wish I was streaming for you guys to see, because I actually yesterday did have a visceral oh shit moment while playing Medieval Dynasty. Adrian, how you doing? Thank you so much. 10 months part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was busy cutting down a tree, and the tree spazzed out and crushed me, like killed me on the spot. It just died after cutting down the tree. It fell on my head, but it spazzed out. Like, it was going one side and then bugged and fell to the other side, instantly crushing me. And that would have been such a cool moment on stream. But yeah, didn't catch it on stream, didn't catch it on video. So it was like, fuck, this sucks. So my companies are legally persons. You're not suing me. You're suing the company that I plan on bankrupting. Easy.
But I think that there is a certain level of truth to it. And in that truth, I think that you can actually find solace in the fact that what you are is not this entire person. It's just this version of yourself that people see.
True.
And whenever you can contextualize and compartmentalize where you are in that little box, it makes it much easier to be who people want you to be, and also to be the person you want to be in another way. So whenever I've taken that approach and people have gotten really mad at me for something like that, I don't really care, because getting mad at me, hate threads, positive threads, I don't know what those are like, but I've heard they're good. It's all the same. It's all content. So view anything good or bad that happens to you as content. And I think that way it gives you, not only does it give you a certain level of disconnect from it, but it also gives you a control over it. Because now you're not thinking about, oh, this is happening to me. Now you're thinking about, imagine drawing cards. And if you draw a card that's not the card you want to draw, you still have to find a way to
Are you getting better?
To play it anyway. And I think that gives you
more
autonomy and more control over the outcome in your life. And overall, I think that's a much healthier outlook than to just blame the internet for being mean, or to blame a group of people for being assholes or something like that, because all you're really doing is blaming something other than yourself. And you can do that, by the way. You can say that it's totally somebody else's fault, and you know what the best part is? You're probably right. And you know what the worst part is? Nobody fucking cares, and it doesn't matter.
True.
It doesn't matter how often you're going to go and say that, oh yeah, this is all these other people's fault.
You see, what he's describing there can also be sort of pushed into, you guys have all seen this, right? Streamers that get completely stonewalled or baited into a 1v1 with someone in chat. I feel like this is another problem that people another mistake that people make when it comes to these this online harassment thing, a stream will be going fine, right? And you'll have X number of viewers all having the time of their lives, just chilling out. And then one person comes into chat and they manage to lock the stream. Now the entire stream is about this one fucking guy and no one else, right? This one guy is now the problem and no one else matters. This streamer is going on for 2 hours just with this one guy. Fucking, yeah. Fuck you, right? Back and forth. It sort of destroys the stream for everyone else in chat because no one else in chat really gives a shit, right? They are not locked into this. They would like to move on and actually enjoy the rest of the stream, but you're now attacking this guy, and that usually is because you feel hurt. You feel hurt, and now you want to fix things. You feel not even necessarily hurt. You feel slighted. You feel humiliated. And now you think to yourself, I need to get this guy. I need to prove to chat that I am not what this guy had just called me or whatever the case may be. And all you end up doing is you end up looking silly. Because that viewer is getting exactly what they want. They've stun locked you. This entire conversation is now stun locked. And everyone else, you start looking like a child to everyone else because you can't move on. Even though everyone else in your stream desperately wants to move on. I remember Paramonster had moments like that. A lot of streamers do. It's very difficult because there are moments where someone will say something that just hits different. The streamer has to learn to recognize they're locked and just ignore it. There's no rule saying the streamer has to win the argument with that one person. Very true, Sebi. Normally, the best way to respond is just to go, yeah, okay, maybe you're right, and then just move on. That drives the asshole a lot more crazy than you continuing the stun lock, right?
And, oh, this isn't my fault. Like, oh, this happened to me. It's not fair. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. And to the extent that you start complaining, people will start resenting you. Because as a content creator, and this is, again, I'll tell you guys this, right? My first, major, viral moment on the internet was a hate thread, okay? It was whenever I made my video, the Asmongold's Lair 2010, and somebody posted it on Reddit, and everybody was like, wow, I guess this is what people do before they kill themselves, or this is what this. I bet this guy's never had a girlfriend, or I wonder how bad this guy smells, or I wonder what this guy looks like, or something like that, right? And it's all insults. But the truth is that none of this bothered me because, bro, who the fuck records a video of a bunch of moldy soda cans and then they get upset whenever somebody says it's gross? Of course people are going to say that.
True.
Are you going to cry about that? Then don't post the fucking video. It's that simple. And again, a lot of content creators, a lot of people that watch content creators want to be content creators. What is the number one job that people in the UK and America want to have? Kids. Being a YouTuber.
Yeah.
What is it in China, by the way? Astronaut. I don't know how that's going to turn out. I'll let you know in 30 years, but not looking very good.
Yeah,
anyway,
definitely not.
You have these people, and they want to be content creators, and they see a content creator who is in a lifestyle that they themselves think that this is a perfect lifestyle. They have idealized this lifestyle to be like, this is their dream. Their dream is to be a YouTuber or a streamer. And then they have somebody who's a YouTuber or a streamer complaining about it, and this is like a personal insult to them. They're angry at you because they're thinking you should be thankful for what you have. If I was in your position, I would be so happy and all my problems would be solved. And
even though that's never the truth, but never mind.
It doesn't really matter whether it's true
Robbers,
or not.
Abaddon?
But one thing that I've learned is that complaining about being a content creator to people that want to be content creators, it's a pretty tough audience. So don't even do it. Don't even try. And again, you want to get it out there. You want to put yourself out there. Bro, you're not yourself. You're a version of yourself. Stop trying to make other people accept you. Stop trying to, make the internet give you their seal of.
I have a friend like this. She's tried the streaming thing a few times now. Like multiple times. I think 4 or 5 times now that she's tried streaming. She's tried the Instagram thing, the social media life, all of that shit. The thing that constantly ruins it is the inability to separate yourself from the content. When I've put out a video, that's my job done. My video is out there. It's on the internet. People are going to disagree. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say things that isn't true, or I'm going to, get facts wrong. Doesn't matter, right? The content is out there. It's done now. I can't really turn it around. I can't really fix that. But then you do get these people that they cannot separate themselves from the content. Everything that is said is seen as a personal attack, and it makes them so depressed that they end up taking months off of social media just to try and get back to some version of what they think they should be. And I feel like the reason for that is a lot of people look at social media or the life of a content creator and think that that is what they need to be happy. Like if they can just be a content creator, they will finally be happy. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is not true. Like that is the worst thing you could ever believe. Being a content creator does not lead to automatic happiness. In fact, it's a pretty miserable job a lot of the time. There's things that you have to do just like in every other job that you're going to hate. There's going to be there's always things that will take some of your time that you don't give a shit about, but you have to do because that's just the life of a content creator. And yes, you're going to be dealing with a lot of people saying mean shit about you. It's not it's not the golden ticket to happiness that a lot of people think it is. This is give the best, hard-hitting results. Content creation is a fun job and not physically risky, but it's 24/7 and can be super stressful. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not coal mining. I'm not suggesting that it is, but I think it has its own challenges, and a lot of people don't. It's like that with everything really in life. It's not just content creation. If you find yourself thinking, all I need in order to be happy is a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you are not ready to be in a relationship. And you should definitely not be in one because it's no one else's job to make you happy. If you're not happy on your own, you are not going to be happy with anyone else. And you should probably not even fucking try because you're going to ruin your and their life as a result of your own insecurities. And the same is true in content creation. It's in any job. If I can only do this, then I'll be happy. No, you have to be happy first, and then you can do that thing. And if you're happy, that thing may add to your happiness. But if you're unhappy, that thing is just going to add to your unhappiness. It's as simple as that. All I need to be happy is a plane ticket to Mars. I mean, it's going to be a very short trip, though. There's no life that's permanently happy and free of struggle. If only there were. Can you imagine?
Approval. Stop trying to make people tell you that you're okay, that what you're doing is okay, because the only person's you know approval that you need is your own. You don't need anybody else to give you the approval to be yourself. Unless, of course, you're breaking the law, right? If yourself is a murderer, then maybe don't be yourself. But other than that, say what you want to say, be who you want to be, because at the end of the day, you shouldn't live your life trying to apologize for who you are, for better or for worse. And I think that living that type of a lifestyle that's more true to yourself gives you much more longevity.